Welcome to your free introductory module. I'm confident that there's valuable insights in it that you'll be able to use right away. And if you do, please sign up for the rest of the course, Optimize Your Franchise Investment, and/or explore a one-on-one coaching engagement with me. Now let's get started. In good conscience, we can't get started with the stuff and things of Module 1 through 7 without first talking about leadership and about the intangibles that are going to drive your business. These intangibles are going to separate the good from the great. I guarantee it. So bear with me, because these are the important things. These are the differentiators that are going to make you successful or perhaps not so successful. When I'm doing workshops, usually with groups of 30, 40, 50 people, I'll often separate them into groups, hand them a white piece of paper, or we'll do it on a whiteboard, and we'll collect the attributes. So I'll ask them to write down the attributes of a leader and or achiever. And it's an interesting list, and this is just a partial list that you're seeing. But you've got things that are very, very interesting. Many we can agree on, and some we've got like, wait a second, I'm not sure that's how I think about leadership. Very often, you choose these words based on how you perform, and you believe that these are the best ways to approach things. Not inappropriate, but these will get you thinking. So we can talk about charismatic versus a quiet confidence, decisive, thoughtful, great listener, and a great speaker, strategic or tactical / executor, energetic or chill. Do they pull or do they push? So this list of attributes is a little bit all over the place, right? I expect that, and I see it very, very often. So then I ask the same group to make a list of great leaders and achievers. And now we start to gain some understanding and some agreement as to who these people are. The list won't surprise you. I'm sure you can add to it. But people like Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and Winston Churchill, Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Michael Jordan, Michael Phelps, Phil Jackson, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Mahatma Gandhi, and so many others show up on this list of great achievers and great leaders. And it's really interesting, and this is where we get to the heart of the matter. There is a common thread between all great leaders. And what do you think that is? The great leaders and achievers are absolutely driven to produce their success. They are goal-driven. Their approaches might be diverse. There's some pretty interesting people in here. Steve Jobs versus the quiet leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Phil Jackson versus Pat Riley, if you're a basketball player. These are different approaches to leadership, but they all are absolutely driven to produce their success. What are the standouts, the leaders in your marketplace doing well? Now, your marketplace is the place you live, perhaps in the community if you have a bricks and mortar location, like a sandwich shop. But your marketplace is wider than that if you're perhaps in the investment business, and you've got to stand out. So what are the standouts doing well? Well, I imagine that you've either received training with a group of folks, or you've attended or will attend conferences. You're going to look around the room and you're going to see a bunch of other franchisees that are part of your system. And I hope you're not surprised, but you might be, that some are doing extremely well and others are struggling. And it's interesting because the extremely well folks will be talking about their successes, and they won't be talking about what I call the donut hole. They'll be talking about the donut, but not the hole in the donut. The hole in the donut being, hey, we really should be doing this. Well, there could be a lot of agreement about that, perhaps even at the leadership level of the franchisor. But the great leaders, the great achievers are talking about getting things done, and they're talking about the big things. And I guarantee that these successful and most successful people have great hires. They train very effectively, and then they train again. They have great morale. which helps them retain their great people, the people that they've invested a lot of money into hiring and training. Very often this is supported, no, I should say most often this is supported by a great set of core values and beliefs. There's a high integrity level. There's a high drive to achieve success and customer satisfaction. They consistently execute at a very high level. We talk about execution a lot. In fact, have a module that just speaks to execution. Yes, I think as you see these folks that are achieving at the highest level, you're going to get a sense that there's a great leader in place. The great leader's probably in the room at that point. And they provide great value. It's about value, especially when you're talking about being a standout. Now you're part of a franchise system, which means, or very likely means, that there are a number of franchisees in the system. So you're not the first. You're not the only. There could be 7 or 8 sandwich shops within 5 miles of your location if you're in that business. Or there could be a number of investment professionals in your marketplace. But the standouts are the ones that do it best and do it best consistently. Every team member must be aligned with the company and your goals. Alignment's an important word. It's not just a word used in strategic planning. Yes, it's about everyone pulling in the same direction, not working against each other. It's about creating clear expectations and then executing against them. I've been in business for a long time, almost 50 years. And I can tell you that my success is based on creating and sharing clear expectations, getting buy-in, hitting deadlines through very, very good execution. It's about team building. It is about recruiting, selection, the hiring part, the training, the team building, the morale that leads to great retention. It is very expensive to hire. Optimize that by keeping your folks on the team for a long time. And that happens because you have great morale and you've built a team. There is no I in team. You got to stand out in the marketplace, as I said before. You may be one of many. So you've got to be the best. You've got to be the place that has the line out the door instead of the place that wonders why people are going to other businesses in your marketplace. Yes, it's about making good investments. And those investments are very often in time and in money. And remember that we're trying to create a situation here where we reduce the amount of time it takes you to be very successful. Because typically it takes twice as much time and twice as much money to get to your goals. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen. Building revenue is an important piece of that. So you're going to use what the franchisor supplies you from a marketing perspective, and you're going to build a great revenue. But don't forget that expectations and execution have more to do with building revenue than your marketing approach. You're going to balance those out. And you've got to control expenses. What good is it to have a business that's prospering on the top line that isn't taking it to the bottom line? So when we look at a P&L, we've got a revenue line on top, and then we have a bunch of expenses, and eventually we get to the profit and loss line. Controlling expenses, controlling things like utilities, the electric bill, the telephone bill, controlling the cost of sales, however that is created, controlling the labor number or the employee benefit number is very, very important. So we're going to look at each expense very carefully because it doesn't make sense to be in business unless you're taking the money to the bottom line. Are you ready to work on you? Believe it or not, it's going to be the most important thing that affects the success in this business you've created and in your life as you go forward. Sorry to be preachy, but I'm still learning, and I've been in business and been around for some time. So you got to strengthen your planning skills. You got to be unflappable under fire. You got to be creative. When it comes to humility, and I think this is a big part of working on yourself, be humble enough to know that you need to look inside and look outside to be more successful. The great leaders are asking questions of themselves and of their people and of their business when it comes to dashboards. What are we doing right and what are we doing wrong? They're not playing the blame game. They're looking at solutions and they're taking their companies and their organizations forward. So be humble and you can see those things. Balance patience with impatience. I was once asked during an interview when the proverbial question came up about, gee, Bob, what are your development areas? What are your weak areas? And Paul Berry, the divisional vice president of that company, asked me that question. And I said, Paul, I think I tend to be impatient at times. And he said, Bob, I think in the job that we are hiring you for, I want you to be impatient. I want you to insist and expect results. So please be impatient to the correct degree. Sometimes we need to be more patient. Sometimes we need to recognize that we're being impatient because someone's not doing the job and that perhaps they need more training or more development. But balance your patience with impatience and ask a lot of questions. You can see how this is all tied together. Be unflappable under fire. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But as I became more senior in my career, the word unflappable, or the approach to it, meant more and more and more to me. Say thank you. Say thank you so many times you get tired of saying it. Come up with different ways to say thank you. But if you're working in a busy environment, perhaps in the retail area, the restaurant area, you need to say thank you often. A lot of things are going on. It's a crazy, powerful word. And I'm blown away by how many times in my career I worked with senior executives and leaders, I guess I could call them that didn't say thank you often enough. Shame on them. Hey, and celebrate successes as appropriate. The other thing is get out from behind the counter. Now, not every business has a counter, but what I mean by that is to get out, look at your business, talk to your customers, ask the question, how are we doing? And be ready for the answer and don't make excuses. Ask them how you can help them be more successful, and then make the changes within your business or within their account to make you that much more successful. I think there's a theme here, but it's absolutely the way to attack your business. The separation between good and great is small, but that small separation in 2024 pays off. I believe the general malaise in product presentation, in service, gives you a bigger opportunity to stand out and for people to talk about you. Because when we talk about the marketing and building revenue segment, it's all about the buzz you create. That's how you become the best in class in your market. Today's marketplace, good may go bankrupt and great continue to prosper. And sometimes we scratch our head and we say, why is this restaurant doing so well and this one doing so bad? I kind of like this one. The food was good. But there's no line because on a consistent basis, they haven't made a great offering and haven't executed very well. Have you ever thought about shaking hands with a customer when they're leaving, or certainly giving them a virtual handshake? Are you the one that makes excuses for the mistakes, playing the blame game? Or do you say in practice, how can I take care of that for you? Just take care of the problem and people will appreciate it. Mistakes are made, they will be made, but take care of the problem. Don't blame people and don't make a ton of excuses. And never, ever, ever say, I'm short-handed today. That comes across really, really poor. Are the French fries hot or have they been rewarmed? In whatever your business in, there's something like rewarmed French fries versus hot and tasty French fries. Look at yourself, look at that business and think about it very carefully. Do you hit every deadline? Are the corners and baseboards clean? Whether you're in a restaurant or a hotel or a retail establishment or your grocery store or perhaps your doctor's office, look at the corners and the baseboards. Is there a bathtub ring? Has the mop been hitting the baseboards and no one's ever thought about cleaning them? Or are they really clean? Are the restrooms spotless? And oh, by the way, if you keep your restrooms really clean and check them every hour, you'll find that your patrons, your customers, will keep them cleaner. At least that's been my experience. Do you know every coworker's name? Every coworker's name, where they live and why they work for you. I worked in a business, the last business I worked for, and I was one of 4 executives. We had about 28 people in the location that I worked in. And we used to go to lunch often, and we used to go down the elevator. And to my chagrin, underline, to my chagrin, some of the other leaders didn't know the names of all the people in the building. There were only 28 of them. And I would joke with them as we left the elevator, hey, did you know that person? Do you know where they go to school? That's a mistake, by the way. That's a huge mistake. Know your folks, know what makes them tick, why they work for you, what schools they go to, what they aspire to, what they want to do next. Is your food, if you're in a restaurant or a sandwich shop, made with love? Is your stocking in a retail establishment done with love? Does the interaction with a customer, perhaps in the investment business, done with love? Do you play the national anthem during lunch? Mission Barbecue down the street from me here actually plays it every day at noon, and people stand up and sometimes they sing, and it's a differentiator, and they show a lot of pride in doing that. Oh, by the way, you can get great employees that will do the things necessary to make your business very successful. Do you say welcome like Waffle House? And do you provide a cruise ship experience? And if you don't know what I mean by a cruise ship experience, I recommend very, very strongly that you go on one of the cruise ships, perhaps even better, a luxury line, one of the small cruise lines like a Seabourn or a Viking or an Oceania, and you experience the level of execution in everything they do. They hit about 99% of the time. You can build a great team, but you have to have the attitude in place that says great people are available, because they are, and you can't be swayed by the people or the paradigm that say there aren't great people out there anymore. People don't work as hard as they used to. It's hard to hire. No, I'm telling you that it is not hard to find great people. It's challenging, but they're out there, and it is the differentiator. If you don't think you can, you may have made the biggest mistake of your life. So wrap your arms around that and take notice of the great people that are out there. It's a challenge, but you can do it. The differentiator in the dozens of restaurants I ran, hundreds of retail and rental establishments I ran, is the team in the location. Strangely enough, everybody says location, 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 and that's pretty important, especially depending on the type of business you're in. But when I was in the restaurant business, and these were neighborhood restaurants, so everybody knew them regardless of where they were and what street corner they were on, the success was based on the manager and the team that he or she hired. When you had a well-trained, highly motivated team, you had success, and quite frankly, success that was not enjoyed in some of the other restaurants that I had that were challenged from a leadership perspective and therefore didn't have a great team. The difference between power and authority is very important as I think about leaders and achievers versus strugglers and people that don't make it in business. Personal power is wrapped into those leaders that we listed early on in this session. They're folks that led with their charisma, with their desire, with their goal setting and goal getting ability. And they generally weren't beat 'em up, shoot 'em up types of leaders. They recognized that authority didn't carry the day, but that personal power does. It's extremely important as you think about things going forward. I like to think that authority, and in my world, authority is only used as a last resort. It's like having only one fire extinguisher next to your desk. that you'll only use if absolutely necessary in a challenging situation. Yes, you do make the decision to hire, you do make the decision to fire. You're going to make some decisions in writing performance reviews. You're going to decide who gets the next opportunity when you're opening up another location. Your authority or your ultimate decision making position in the company is going to come into play. But you use that only as a last resort. Don't be a boss. Don't be a beat 'em up, shoot 'em up type of leader. Be a charismatic leader that pulls people along, creating the best possible situation and the best possible result. It happens. Adversity is part of the deal. There's all kinds of adversity. Weather events, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, blizzards, you name it. At some point in a year, things like that happen. If you're not bricks and mortar, you could have power failures or a system go down, or your internet provider lets you down, or someone calls in sick. So adversity is part of the deal. About mid-career, I found a word that really helped me understand how I needed to be in adverse situations. I became the rock. And as you grow in leadership and as you grow in an organization, and if you're the owner, and likely you are, of the franchise that you purchased, your ability to handle this adversity, your ability to be the rock and be the word that I love to use, which is unflappable, is going to pay off significantly. Your unflappability will get your team through the day. Sometimes that means that you're working on the sales floor with your folks because you're shorthanded a person or two, or perhaps even more, and you're out there with them and you're providing that leadership and you're working hard alongside them and you're unflappable. I can't say enough about the word and the term because we all want to work with a person that inspires confidence in us. And the only way that can happen is if that person, that leader, is a rock, is unflappable. Hey, and that's not to say that you're not torn up inside because of something that's happened in your business, perhaps even in your personal life. But your ability to handle that adversity and not stress over the stress, but to do something that takes you in the right direction, will almost always pay off. Here's a simple list, but an important list of things that produce great teams, and great teams produce great results. As I've said before, say thank you a lot. Don't play the blame game, don't play the excuse game, play the solution game, and take care of the problems that exist, especially if they're directly involved with a customer, immediately. Never, never, ever criticize anyone in front of someone else. It's one of the first rules of leadership and administration. Corrections need to be made, but they need to be made in private. Make sure that they always happen that way. And whenever possible, eliminate emotion from the equation. There's no place for the emotion. There's no place for berating somebody. As appropriate, use the word unacceptable. Hey, that's not the way you were trained. That is unacceptable. Here's what the correction is. And I'm counting on you to perform better or to do this differently the next time around. Ken Blanchard's book, The 1 Minute Manager, talks about success. Make sure that your team understands what success looks like. Boy, that just dovetails so closely with the importance of expectations and the execution that has to happen to reach those expectations. If someone walks into your office or says to you, Bob, can I talk to you for a minute? Drop everything to talk to them. Very often they have something to share that's very personal. Sometimes they've thought about it for days and overnight, and they're very, very concerned, and they have something to share with you that's very difficult for them to share. When someone says, I want to talk to you, just drop everything, give them your full attention, move away from your computer or your cell phone, and listen carefully and do your best to help them through the situation. It will pay off. And strangely enough, it seems like a small item on this list. Make sure that your payroll is on time and accurate. People are there working for a wage, a salary. As much as we talk about how much they enjoy working, they expect to get paid. Make sure they get paid on time. Do not ever let this slip. And last but not least, and we talked about this before, celebrate the wins. One of the terms I like to use, a term that was kind of introduced in the 1990s and early 2000s, is MBWA, management by walking around or management by wandering around. And yes, you can do this in bricks and mortar, but you can also do it in a virtual world. Basically, it's a series of questions or touch points that are designed to see how things are going, and how they are also designed to see how expectations are being followed and whether or not we're going to hit the mark, whether or not we're going to hit the deadline. So it's as simple as my COO in one of my career positions wandering in and saying, "Hey, Bob, how are things going? How was your weekend? What are you working on?" And I'd let him know what we were working on. And he'd say, "Are there any obstacles that you're facing that you need my help on? Are we on track?" And if I let him know that there was something that I needed help on, he'd jump in and make the effort more effective. I really appreciated that. Your people will too. And it helps you stay in touch with your business. Remember, there's a difference between working, supervising, managing, directing, and leading. And I don't want to beat a dead horse here. The leader does not typically belong on the sales floor. And if they are on the sales floor, it should be very, very customer focused. Supervisors are on the sales floor making sure that things are happening as they should. And a manager is usually a step up from a supervisor, and he or she has additional responsibilities that are likely off the sales floor that they take care of. Things like perhaps scheduling, doing the payroll, things of that nature. A word or a couple words on being creative. Some of the greatest ideas have come out of franchisees in franchise systems. And typically, you do need the permission to test these things. But don't forget that some of the great ideas have come out of franchisees and franchise systems. The Big Mac and the Egg McMuffin are certainly notable when it comes to that. I hope you've enjoyed this free introductory webinar on optimizing your franchise investment. Take this opportunity to sign up for the rest of the Optimize Your Franchise Investment website and/or join me for a one-on-one coaching engagement. I'd be honored to work with you. Let's work together to take your business to new heights.